Great to be back in Gadsden County. I want to thank the folks here for hosting us. And I also want to thank the folks we have with us today. I have the Secretary of Florida Department of Economic Opportunity, Dane is with us here today. I have Sheriff Morris Young. Thank you, Sheriff, for being here. We have Eugene Lamb, who's a friend of ours and has served in a variety of capacities for the state of Florida. We have our great Gadsden County commissioners. And then I got a Gadsden County native, a friend of mine, Freddie Figures, who's going to talk about kind of his great story and all the great stuff he's been working on, and it started right here in Gadsden County. And so we have been very supportive of our rural communities since I've become governor. Part of it is I think, we do some investments. It goes a lot further in some of the rural areas than in some of the more urban areas. That's just the reality of it. And so if you're talking about infrastructure, if you're talking about job training, if you're talking about some of these key things, if the state can go in there and help, particularly these fiscally constrained communities, that can make a huge, huge impact. So we've been excited to be able to do that. Since I've been governor, we've actually done public events in every one of the 67 counties. And I don't think any other governor has done that in 3 years' time. And so we're here today. Before we get started with today's announcement, I do just want to say, the gas prices are going up dramatically. And I just have to disagree, with the president saying that this is somehow an incredible opportunity to have this transition. Fact of the matter is, this is really punishing a lot of people at the pump. It's very difficult to afford. What are you going to do? Just not go to work all of a sudden? People are basically stuck with having to pay these prices. And unfortunately, I think when we have Memorial Day and into the summer, I think it's going to go up even more. And so you're going to be looking at, for unleaded, Florida, we're actually probably average or even slightly below average of the nation. I think the nation is going to be over $5 a gallon this summer, and many parts of Florida, unfortunately, are going to see it. Now, we have a gas tax holiday in next year's budget, and that'll help, but that's like 25 cents a gallon if it's going up this much. And so it's something that is really, really significant for a lot of people. And then the fuel, it's not just the people getting it at the pump. It goes into every business in terms of their energy costs, and it helps drive up the price of everything that people consume. The grocery bills have gone through the roof, and there's different things for that, but the energy is a big part of that. Fertilizer costs, all these things are doing it. And, we're proud in Florida, our unemployment rate's far below the national average. We have more job openings than we have people to even fill them now. And a lot of people wouldn't have predicted that just a couple years ago. But if you look, even if you make 5-10% more year over year, if fuel is up 50% and groceries are up 20% and utilities are up, then you've actually lost ground potentially. And so I think it's a huge issue. And, we have a big tax package that are going to affect July 1st to try to provide some relief. We're also going through the budget. I'm going to trim some of the budget, quite frankly, because I'm sensitive about doing anything to fuel the inflation. And so you got to be smart about how you're doing it. But I think these gas prices are a big problem. And so I hope that they will reevaluate that and not view that as an incredible thing, because the fact of the matter is, right now at this time, you can't just run an economy on solar and wind. And we've done a lot on solar in Florida. We've done a lot on electric vehicles. We've put in charging stations on the Florida Turnpike, and we've got more coming in all across the state. And I'm fine doing that, but you can't do that at the exclusion of making sure people have access to affordable energy. So we stand in favor of doing everything the U.S. can do to regain our energy independence, which we actually had for the first time in a long time. So we're here today because, I think rural communities really matter in the state of Florida. I think we have tremendous potential in rural communities, obviously in North Florida, but even you go down to the heartland of Florida, and I think people have great potential. I just think about my own administration. Our Secretary of the Lottery grew up in Pahokee, right on Lake Okeechobee. poor agriculture community, gets a football scholarship to Florida State, becomes successful in business, and now is serving as a secretary for the state of Florida. A lot of people probably said, he wouldn't have been able to do those things, if they just looked at kind of how he was born and where the opportunities were at the time. And I think also having Freddie here, I think is really a testament that, everybody counts, everybody has God-given ability. And we just have to do everything we can so that people can get the most out of this. He was abandoned as a baby in Gadsden County. And if you would have said, what are the chances that he was going to be successful, I think most people would have taken the under on that. That's just the reality of the situation. But he had a gift. He obviously was taken in. By Nathan and Betty May, adopted him when he was 2 days old, and he was raised here in Gadsden County. But he had a gift for technology and electronics, and he'll talk to you about kind of what he did. But he knew like the GPS, and he was helping with the dementia and put it on the shoes, and was just innovating all these things. And he was somebody who is himself a telecom operator. He was a business owner as a teenager, and he's done huge in terms of business success. And he's done so well, and I think the story's been so inspirational that they're actually going to make a movie about him. Hollywood's got the rights, and so that's going to come down the pike. But he has a manufacturing facility in Doral down in South Florida, and his corporate office is down there. And he's actually, his phone he produced his own phone. He does all these things, and so he had the gift for this and was able to turn it in to a career that nobody would have thought was possible. And you know what he does with that? He puts a lot of people to work. He's able to lift a lot of people up business-wise, but he's also able to do it with philanthropy and being involved in a lot of great things. And so, to start out abandoned in rural Florida to end up now being somewhere where they're going to do a movie about, I think what it shows these kids is, don't let anyone tell you can't succeed. It's not always easy. There's curveballs. But I think that, seeing somebody like Freddie shows that you have an opportunity to do great things, even against very, very long odds. And so part of the reason I think we're here and we've been to all the rural communities in Florida is because, I think there's people like Freddie in all these different corners of the state of Florida. And, we can't necessarily from government, guarantee someone's going to reach his success, but we provide tools that we need if we're helping the community, have better infrastructure or better educational opportunities. It only takes one person to get that spark and to do great things. So I look at these kids, and I know they have a lot of potential. So we want to be able to be here helping that. So what we're going to be able to do today is announce, I have the budget that we've been going through. It's a lot of stuff to go through. We're going to be signing that very soon. But what I'm able to announce today is we at the state of Florida are going to be awarding nearly $9 million in grant awards to Gadsden County communities for infrastructure and to improve community facilities. So we're doing millions of dollars for the city of Chattahoochee to rehabilitate a former school building into a senior center, millions to expand the city of Gretna's community center, $1.7 million to Gadsden County to rehabilitate and improve a multi-use county-owned facility, $600,000 for Midway to construct an education center with 5-station shooting stand, automated clay throwing equipment, and small bore rifle range. Wow, that's great. $500,000 for the city of Gretna to support road and utility improvements for the construction of a new facility that will create jobs and have an economic impact of almost $15 million. And almost $25,000 to Quincy to replace a bypass pump and prevent future wastewater backflow. We also have a huge amount of money for our rural infrastructure fund. And so that's something that is available to all the rural communities. And so I told the commissioners, I was like, you guys have other things, apply for support with that, because we've been able to make a huge difference with the rural infrastructure fund. And when I came in, what was the typical amount in rural infrastructure?
5 million.
5, we got 30 now. And that just shows you that we're committed to helping folks in rural communities. So from 5 million to be the norm, now 30 million. Now just think about that. If you have 5 million, we've got a lot of rural counties. You can give here or there. With 30 million, I mean, you can make a really big difference with that. And so we do that. We also have the Governor's Job Growth Grant Fund. We've been able to do a lot of great things. For example, we were at Northwest Florida State College a few months ago, kind of as the supply chain stuff was really starting to get a little more notoriety. But we said, you know what? We want to expand commercial driver's license slots so we can produce more truck drivers. They're paying these truck drivers a $15,000 signing bonus just to start. Walmart is starting their truck drivers at $110,000. So to be able to have those options where if you go in and you're qualified and you show up on time and do that you're going to make potentially 6 figures, I think that's something that's really, really positive. And so we're able to do a lot of different stuff. We've also done things like Job Growth Grant Fund to expand industrial parks throughout the state of Florida. Sometimes you have a good thing that needs a road to link it to a highway or something. So we're very nimble on how we do it. And I let the folks here know that apply for stuff. Maybe Freddie will do something with us and we can kind of get, private, public, private. So there's a lot of great opportunities here. But at the end of the day, we think that we're really proud of our rural communities in Florida. We're going to continue to offer support. I am just, when you look at the budget, we're now looking at for May, revenue coming in at probably $600 million over the estimate. Last month, it was $800 million over the estimate. So our fiscal year ends June 30th. We have a $101.5 billion budget for the current fiscal year. And the surplus is going to be like $21 billion probably at this pace. So that's the largest surplus in the history of the state of Florida. Now, we're going to sign the budget next year. For next year's budget, they did expand the top line. Part of it's inflation. Part of it is, they see this and they want to be able to do. And we'll make some decisions to make sure that that's fiscally responsible. But, I think it shows that, we have record reserves. I hope that there's not a recession, but there's a lot of problematic signals on the macro level, and particularly out of the federal level. And so if we end up in a situation where the revenue slows, the economy slows, I'm not going to miss a beat. We're going to fund the schools. We're going to fund infrastructure. We're going to fund all the key things. I'll take some money from the rainy day fund, just plug it in, and we go. So we are not going to be in a fiscal crisis in the state of Florida because we've kept the state open. We've had low taxes. We've spent reasonably and conservatively. And the result is we're now able to do more for a lot of the communities throughout the state of Florida. So we're proud of that. We're also proud of some of the numbers that we've seen where we're setting tourism records that no one thought was possible. When COVID hit, everyone said, Florida and Hawaii were kind of ground zero for the economic impact because they thought tourism would dry up. And that obviously is a big part of our economy statewide, particularly when you look at places. I mean, Northwest Florida, has done phenomenal. But you look at the theme parks, all these other things. And the reality is we've never done better at this point. You look at like the restaurant industry, which many people wanted to keep closed. We lifted up a lot of people, saved tens of thousands of jobs. Our restaurants around the state are up like 25% than pre-COVID. And you got places like Boston and these other cities, they've been really bad with how they've treated these restaurants, and they're not even close to where they were prior to COVID. So that has a huge impact on individuals' lives and livelihoods. And, I was talking to somebody the other day that lives in Sarasota. He's like, I used to be able to go to these restaurants, no problem. Now they're always booked. I got to figure out how to get in because there's so much demand. So bottom line is, we've got a lot of great things going. We're going to continue to work really hard. But that's really, all communities in Florida count. Some of the big areas that have really exploded, like in South Florida, great. But we're not going to overlook rural Florida. And so, and this is one of the reasons why you got people like Freddie that I know can be produced from our rural community. So I want him to come up, talk about his story so that people can understand the significance. And then we'll do the check presentation.
All right.
Come on.
Thank you. Yep.
So thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Freddie Figures, born and raised here in Gadsden County. I'm an American inventor, president and CEO of Figures Communication. And Figures Communication is an American telecommunications company that provides cell phone service, mobile broadband, and international calling services. And we manufacture cell phones in Doral. Also, we manufacture healthcare devices. So also, not just only on the manufacturing side, but we always pay it forward. So 10% of our gross revenue goes back to support our foundation on the philanthropic arm, where we support initiatives of scholarships, first responders, school systems. But I really want to say today, thank you for the governor for coming out and really making that investment and believing into Gadsden County. Without this investment, I mean, I personally know the education system and the trajectory of what this investment is going to do for these students here. And the governor has made such a significant investment into education throughout the state of Florida. So, Governor, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
All right, Dane Eagle, come on up.
Well, the governor on Friday was able to announce that Florida's unemployment rate is 3.0% compared to the nation's at 3.6%. So Florida continues to lead in economic growth. We're constantly ahead of the nation in job growth, workforce. We have more people working in Florida today than February 2020 pre-pandemic, and it's thanks to the governor's Freedom First policies and making sure that Florida's leading. But even more importantly than that, the governor has seen the growth across the state. He's looked to his administration, challenged all the secretaries, everybody that works with him to make sure we're not leaving the rural communities behind, which is why it's so awesome to be able to announce $9 million today, nearly $9 million for Gadsden County. A lot of this is infrastructure, community centers, approving the governor's commitment to Hurricane Michael communities. One of the grants today is for William Stevens High School, which burnt down, named after the first African-American doctor in Quincy. But we're going to be able to rebuild the cafeteria to make sure that that piece of history stands, but also serves as a shelter for future storms. So that's amazing. And we're going to continue to work with your community leaders to make sure that we can do more. As the governor mentioned, we have the Rural Infrastructure Fund. We have broadband. The governor said in his statements that he's been to all the rural communities. That's not a hyperbole. The governor's literally been to all 67 counties. It's easy to get to Miami or Orange or Duval. Maybe not so easy to get to Dixie or Suwannee or Gilchrist, but the governor made it a point to be at every single one. I got to attend a few of them, but we were there not only delivering checks, but asking what more we can do. So we're going to do more. We'll work with your leaders. We'll work on broadband, we'll work on Rural Infrastructure Fund, we'll work on job growth, but it's all thanks to the governor's commitment. Thank you.
And I think what's the broadband, 400 million?
400 million.
So we've got 400 million for rural broadband. And basically, we want everyone in Florida to be able to have access, to high quality broadband. It's interesting, though. It's not just the rural counties, because we have some big counties that have rural areas within them. Mm-hmm. So, for example, like parts of Hillsborough, Palm Beach, some of them will benefit as well because they don't have the same infrastructure as some of the places that are more populated. So we're really excited about being able to make a difference there. And we also had, and I think the legislature was smart of providing money to plus up sheriff's deputies in rural counties. And so, Sheriff, you're going to have the ability to raise salaries for the deputies. And that goes on. We're going to do, second year in a row, we'll be doing $1,000 bonuses for all sworn law enforcement and firefighters throughout Florida. So we're really proud of that. We're also proud of the recruitment and retention bill that we signed, that for new deputies coming into sheriff or to police departments, anywhere in the state, they can get a $5,000 signing bonus for coming to Florida, or for young people that are going in to law enforcement. It was interesting. I was just down in Lee County talking to the sheriff there, and I was like, well, how's it going? Are people interested? And he's like, Governor, I've got a huge waiting list now of people that are trying to come to Florida. And so, I think with the rural sheriff's departments doing the salary increase, the bonus for everybody, and then offering the new recruits a $5,000 bonus, I think it's going to go a long way. And so we're really excited. But there is a specific line item in the budget for the rural deputy salaries, and so I've approved that. And I think that that's going to make a big difference. Why don't we do the check presentation? So any of you commissioners that want to come and accept this on behalf of the county, be my guest.
Let's get some of these little ones in here.
You got it. Guys, look it up.
You know?
You get in front of it.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah, of course, of course. Good job, guys. Yep. Thanks so much. All right. Anybody have any questions?
Senate sponsor, all these reforms aren't going to really directly impact or lower rates for at least 18 to 24 months. How happy are you with the final product that they're pushing forward right now?
Well, I think if you look, though, if they do, which we support, something like my Safe Florida Home, they're going to put money into that, where Floridians, particularly people who are more middle income, working class, can get grants to make improvements on their home for hurricane preparations. That will end up leading to them qualifying for some discounts. Now, obviously, if you have an escalation, the discount, you still could have a net increase depending on where you're at. But I do think that will help relieve some pressure. I think what you'll also see is more people want to do business in Florida and offer policies. The thing is like, if you want like car insurance, you look to see what one company's doing, and then you look at what all the others are doing, then you make a decision. Well, in Florida, for homeowners insurance, a lot of times you don't have any options. And so they raise your rates, you don't have a thing. Maybe they'll dump you onto Citizens. And so I think kind of having a better, stable market is going to draw more people into wanting to do business in Florida. But, I'll talk to people, say like Florida has been the worst for this, and it's difficult to, the costs are high, and I think that they're working to address it. But I think it's also just important to let people know, we have the worst inflation we've had in 4 decades, okay? So the idea that people are going to see radical reductions in bills based on what we're doing, that is not something, if anyone's promising you that, just the inflation alone, the amount that it costs to build homes now, if you look for what it was just 2 years ago, look at all the materials that go into it. Some of the materials have gone up 100% in 2 years. And so that obviously factors in when you're talking about insurance coverage, potentially replacing a roof or things like that. But I think that these reforms are positive. I think consumers are going to be able to access some of these programs that could allow them. I mean, obviously, you want to pay lower rates if you make an improvement. But even more importantly, you want to avoid damage in the first place, and this could help with some of the things. We also, in our tax package, provided a tax-free ability to do things like some of the fortified windows and some other things that people have done to make improvement. You can get some of that stuff tax-free now starting July 1st. So I think that that'll be a very big benefit as well. But I think the telltale will be, are you going to have more business wanting to come into Florida and offer policies to people? And the indications that I've seen is that will be the case. And so that's really the most important first step. All right. Well, thanks so much. It was so good to be here. We appreciate it. And y'all just let us know what more we can do, okay?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Good job.
Thank you, Joe. Keep it safe. Good job.